Shadow of the Colossus. It's a game a lot of you have probably never played or heard of, but it's a game that has definitely had an influence on your journey through video games, whether you know it or not. I'm Arnav, and I'll be walking you through why I believe that Shadow of the Colossus is one of the most influential and greatest video games of all time, despite it being close to 20 years old at this point. The gameplay is very simple, as it consists of just 16 boss fights broken up by the travel time between each boss. And that's where the first unique aspect of the game comes into play. You are in this massive open world environment, and there's nothing to do except for ride your horse and find these colossi. But how'd we get here? Well, this game is actually the second of a 3-game series released by Team Ico in Japan. The storytelling in Team Ico games are very subtle, but super thought-provoking once you think about them, which is what gets them so much critical acclaim. Shadow of the Colossus starts with this grand opening scene that you can see in the video right now, and it immediately makes the player start asking questions. Where are we? Why are we alone with just a horse? What is the main character carrying? And where are we going? This beautiful opening cinematic with its grand music immediately hooks players into this world, and already makes them start questioning what's going on. As this game is story-based, I do not want to get into spoiler territory because I think everyone here should play this, but the scene following the opening cinematic explains that the main character has wandered into this world because he heard of a magical power that can bring people back to life. The person he wants to bring back to life is a woman. She's the one he's been carrying on his horse this whole time into the land. And we don't know who this woman is, but we know that the main character cares deeply for her. The main character is then told that he needs to kill 16 colossi that are scattered throughout the land in order to bring her back to life. And so, set on his resolve to do this job, he sets out to kill these 16 colossi. And that's when you're given control of the character for the first time. In the video right now, you can see the first Colossus. This is the first introduction you have to this game. This massive beast that is towering over you. And this is just the first one? Before even fighting the boss, the player first needs to find the boss. Traversing through the land and trying to find these bosses actually consists of 60% of the gameplay. For this first boss it isn't too difficult, but for the rest of them it gets pretty tricky, and there's a gameplay mechanic that helps you out with that. Now, in the boss fights, I like to think of them as big platforming puzzles. The player's trying to find a way to climb up the boss, or weaken them, or do something to try and bring them down to your level, because they're so big and you're so small. So, it's just a big platforming game, but the platform can kill you very easily. As this one's the first boss, the puzzle is pretty easy. You just gotta climb up his leg, stab him, he falls down, and you climb up. But as the game progresses, each boss has a very unique and different way of fighting them, and you'll see further in the video that each boss is supremely different. Now you may be thinking, what makes this game so special if it's just 16 boss rushes? Well, the easy answer to that is play it and you'll find out. But in reality, as you start to fight these colossi and progress through the game, you start to realize that something's wrong. It doesn't feel right just killing these creatures for your one purpose of bringing this girl back to life. Why am I doing this? Why am I killing 16 beasts just for this one girl? Something is off, isn't it? As you progress through the game and the boss battles get harder and more scary, you start resenting the girl. That was just one example of questions that pop into the player's head as they're progressing through this game. I do not want to get into any story aspects of the game because that'll get into spoiler territory, but believe me when I say, if you sit through this whole game and play through the whole story through the end, it'll change the way you think about the world as a whole. Now the next clip I'm showing is from another boss later on in the video game, who's one of my favorites, and it also highlights how beautiful this game is. Now the gameplay I'm showing is from the PlayStation 4 remake, but this game came out on the PS2, and it had the same gameplay mechanics. This was unheard of at the time. The entire game is physics-based, and the way the Colossus throw you around and the way you climb them is super realistic. And this had never been seen before in a 3D game. A phrase people like to throw around in the games industry is that Team Eco is your favorite developer's favorite developer, because they pull off these crazy stunts that no one's done before, and they make the most beautiful masterpieces. This boss battle also highlights the need you have for your horse. Another reason this game has received so much critical acclaim is because of the horse, surprisingly. In most video games, when you jump on a horse, you just start controlling the horse as if it's a car. In this video game, when you jump on the horse, you're still playing as your character, and you have to control that horse as your character. Or in simpler terms, the horse doesn't always listen to you. This design decision makes the horse feel a lot more alive and as a true friend, rather than just a vehicle you use to travel between colossi and then occasionally to help you out. Shadow of the Colossus also happens to have one of the best musical scores of any video game. As you delve into the fandom, you find a community that is so committed to this video game that it's almost cultish. And that community is keeping this game alive still 20 years later, even after it has had no updates. I believe that this game is one that everyone should experience because of the amazing storytelling and the thrilling gameplay. Shadow of the Colossus is truly something special and unique that'll be very hard to replicate in the future. But that's all from me. Thank you.